I'll introduce myself first. My name is Tony Reid. I'm one of the staff here, one of the academics at the university. We're very happy to have you all here today. Welcome. It's great work that's going on here today. Thank you in advance for all your contributions. If you have any questions about what we do here at the university, we've got a very active music research department and some excellent courses. We'd be very happy to talk to you about those if it's something that you're interested in. And now I will hand over to my dear friend who will tell you all about today.
Thank you, Tony. Hi everyone and welcome to Equalize. It's very exciting. We're very excited to have you all here with us today in this fab space. Equalize is part of the Lancashire Music Hub's Youth Voice programme called Amplify, and it's been going for a few years. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that later. So today, my name is Rachel and I'm from More Music, and around the room, should we give everyone a wave? We've got our team from Music Service, Music Hub at More Music and UCLAN. So, a little bit about Amplify. In 2018, the Lancashire Music Education Hub set up Amplify to make sure that young people across Lancashire had a voice and could influence change at a strategic level. So working with some key partners like More Music and Blaze, the programme's moved through a number of phases. So this is phase 4 that you're in. We've created a mission statement. Young people undertook a piece of research across Lancashire with 400 young people to explore opinions and experiences of music education in school and out. Last year, it might have been the year before, we commissioned 4 young people to create 4 pieces of content, of which Aaron created a music video, and you'll see some of that later. And we had a conference last November to present the content and the report that was pulled out of the research, and now we're in phase 4. With you guys today, I'll tell you what you're going to be doing in a little bit, but first I'm going to let Tim share with you a little bit more about the...
I'll use my big outside. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, that's great. So my name's Tim Rogers. I'm head of Lancashire Music Service, which is lead partner for Lancashire Music Hub. And if you haven't heard of the Hub, that's fine. But what the Hub does, it brings lots of different organisations together. So like the Music Service, who's ever played an instrument? Okay, brilliant. Okay, so if you played an instrument, if you were at junior school or came through junior school and you had everybody in the class playing the instrument, yeah? Hands up if you've done that, everybody in the class playing the instrument, those sorts of things. Yeah, it's probably one of our music service teachers. We teach about 25,000 young people a week. We put on bands, we put on orchestras, and we've got partners like More Music who do lots of projects and lots of work right across Lancaster and Lancashire, and other digital partners as well. And it was great initiating this programme, now in its phase 4, to get your voice. Okay, what we've been doing for a long time, but we really need your voice and your ideas so that we can create new strands of working that are suited to your needs and going forth to young people in the future as well. So that's a little bit about the Hub. We're funded by the Department for Education, so we do get government funding to put on lots of programmes, and directly as a part of this work, the Youth Council that we're creating as well, will have some funding to work on programmes specifically designed by yourselves. So that's it from me.
Thank you, Tim. Jack and Erin are going to introduce the 4 areas that we're going to talk about today, but I'll just go through them now. So today we're going to be looking at these 4 key areas of focus that came out of the research that we did, and they are the averageness of music education, what there is and what there should be, in real life versus online, and career paths. And Erin and Jack are going to tell you a bit more about that, but this is your chance and to have a say about the future of musical opportunities kind of in school and out in Lancashire. And we're going to ask you to debate the issues, to ask questions, and to contribute to ideas as to how we can shape music education going forward. I'm going to hand you over to Jack and Erin.
Thank you, Rachel. You can't make some noise! I know it's 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning, but we can do better than that, surely. You can't make some noise! Yeah! That's what we like to hear. That's what this event is about. You making noise and making a lot of difference. Because the things you discuss today won't just affect music education for your generation, but generations to come. Now you're probably thinking, I'm a student. What do my opinions mean? Everything. Because at the end of the day, you've got to fight for your right to have a good music education, but also to party. Now this beautiful man stood on my right is Jack. He is with More Music and More Media Collective. I'm Aaron, and I'm a singer-songwriter. And Jack is going to tell you a bit more about what you're going to be doing today.
So, Rachel introduced the 4 publications we're talking about. So basically we're going to introduce them, show you a little bit of a clip of some content made by the young people that were commissioned for this programme, and then we're going to discuss it, feedback, hear your voices, get everything together, and hopefully have a good time. So, Aaron, on to the first one.
Yeah, the first publication is the averages of music education. Now in the survey we found that on a scale of 1 being and 5 being buzzing, over 50% of respondents said their music education was average or below. And Caitlin, one of the content creators, produced a podcast where she asked different music professionals how they thought their music education was. Enjoy it. Okay, now that you've listened to that, we're going to discuss it. You're going to have 20 minutes or so to talk about how average you think your music education is. And afterwards, we'll feedback your best answer, and then that will all be collated and help with the next phase of Amplify. Away you go.
One of the things that was said here was all the young people were saying there was lots of opportunities to perform. It was really positive and opportunities to perform. But some of the challenges were at the primary school and involved in different sort of music and education programs there. But also they found a little bit of a disjoint between what they did in the music lesson, the sort of appraising and musical appraising compared to performing. So the performing was really good. Lots of opportunities inside and outside the school.
We thought there was a lot of good things about what we do in lessons at school. There's a lot of resources and subs and instruments for us to use. But one that kept coming up was that we needed more space. Other subjects have a lot of different classrooms, a lot of different rooms, and music doesn't really have as much.
We also brought up the issue that people in primary, they don't actually get to experience music like you do in high school. So we came up with the idea that GCSE Year 10 students who actually are doing music can go to a certain primary school, perform, and explain why their passion for music is so strong. If they can, they can try to convince younger students to get involved either outside of school or inside of school to actually learn if they want to do music or not. Because in my primary, when I was stupid and small, all we ever did was one drum lesson, and it wasn't really anything to do with anything at all. And then after that, nothing else happened. And then I went to more park, and then everything actually started to change. I could sing, I could do guitar, do it all. So we just thought that if we can help younger children experience what they actually want to do, we can change music for the better.
That's brilliant. We're going to go to this table down here.
So we were talking about what needs to change, and we wrote down the school timetable. We also wrote down how we can change it is with the local choir, and we can make more variety of options and instruments, and also experience with different types of instruments and different genres. We believe that we need more lessons in school, more drama and music lessons, and it would be really good to got money and funding for this to happen.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's it all there. What have you got?
You guys so we've got GCSE and BTEC courses. They're genuinely positive about music lessons, but what came out of our discussions were that we would like more performance opportunities. Currently there's not as many, maybe 2 concerts per year. It'd be nice if there was more than that, and then people would have more things to kind of work towards. More practical music and more playing, and a great idea about showcasing the work that's produced in class time. So maybe if someone's written a soundtrack or a track in class, find a way of being able to release the tracks or to perform the songs that are created within lessons so that they're shared with the wider school, and so we don't get lost. And maybe more range of genres just to
Brilliant. Let's go to this table here.
Our students have said through this discussion is that although they like the lessons and the lessons are great and the learning's great, we're learning in a store cupboard, so we're just using that as a music room, and we'd love to have sessions where we have more like big like rock school thing where we have like big band sessions, or everyone who studies music in one room learning one like a ukulele or whatever, but we can't do that because of we're restricted by space and that sort of thing. Did anyone else want to have anything to say about that?
The thing that came up mostly was just how passionate everybody was about their music making and just heavily involved in it and doing a wide range of stuff. But the main thing that came up was that making sure that the music is relevant to everybody, maybe doing more contemporary music, which everybody here loves and they all engage with it, but we were talking about how we could try and get more people to engage with it in the schools, because in 2 of the schools, the music groups are quite small at the GCSE level, and in one of the schools it was so small we weren't able to run the course. And so what can be changed to try and get more people involved, and just talk about getting more contemporary music going on so it's more relevant. And also we had a chat about role models and bringing people who are realistic role models, was the word that came in, that are local to the area that young people can relate to, rather than just watching a video or potentially someone coming in that wasn't really ideal and local in that kind of way that we could really think about.
So we all agreed on that schools need to not push music aside as much because it's important and can lead to jobs in the music industry. And also, if you haven't already noticed by now, space is another big one that keeps on popping up. Seems like space is a big problem, so yeah. And also increasing the provision of music.
Brilliant. So now, we're going to collate all that, and then Jack is going to tell us about the next publication, which is what there is, what there should be.
Cool, so what are those things and what they should be? We have talked a little bit about that in the feedback we just got. But, you know, things like diverse music education, learning about diverse genres and features, as well as access to instruments and recording facilities. Are these things that are represented for you? Do you get that freedom to express your creativity and real learning? And what's missing? So that's our next publication, and we have a song by Aaron talking about what might be missing. Thank you very much.
Woo!
So we've got 20 minutes again to discuss.
So we talked about quite a few different things, and I think one of the things that came up the most is going back to the idea of role models again, but using young people, like people sat around the table, as role models for the younger years in the school. So being able to find more opportunities for the ones in year 10 and 11 to work with year 7s and 8s, so that that they can see what they can go on to go do in the music in their school and learn from the people around them, I think, and also so that they're not also scared of the bigger people when they come to school and trying to get involved in more music, so they're not driven away from them. Going along with that, there was also a definite feeling that music is not supported by the wider school, although they do feel supported in their music departments. There are examples of people not being allowed to go on time to their music lessons because the teacher won't let them leave the lesson, and especially when their lessons being paid for and things like that. Is that really appropriate? And like spaces in the school to make music, like rooms, newer instruments that are kept in good condition and things like that. So just that recognition as well in the school. And one of the ideas that was also thought of to help with those instruments is to put on more taster sessions for the year 7s, so like opportunities to come in and see instruments, how it goes, that even if they're not having music lessons, if they're going in using the instruments and they know how to use them, look after them carefully. And to go with that, getting the visiting music instrumental teachers more visible in school, and so that the rest of the people know it, because there was a definite feeling that unless you were having an actual lesson, you have no idea who is involved in those instruments, and you wouldn't know to go and ask them if they can be involved in things like that. It's getting more teachers visible as well.
Alright, brilliant. Let's go to the table minute. What have you got?
We've said that music is in all classrooms and it's not really got its own space. It's not taken seriously, there's no like equipment. But I think the point that we were hitting off before, there's no inspiration. They've not had the experience of actually seeing somebody play an instrument or what it's like to be on a stage or to see it like a band perform. So it's giving them the opportunity to have that spark and that inspiration to take that into music.
We talked about the different opportunities in school, like having more clubs and a lot more space, and having been able to book a place so you can be on your own to help you compromise and develop your music. And talking about the increasing budget, but we would suggest different types of events to help raise the money and not just seem like pushing. And then we talked about the recommendations and the increases in space for different parts of the school for more people who do want to do music in the future. And yeah.
Alright, great. We'll go to this table then.
One of the things we talked about a lot is that the GCSE content is actually really boring. Like, so before we started GCSEs, we live music, and once we started, it just became boring. And it's like nothing wrong with the teachers or anything, it's just what we're actually learning. Like, nobody's going to be interested in analysing a piece of music from like 1,000 years ago. It's true, don't laugh at me. Being able to perform more, like a lot of the lessons is purely just theory, because that's what's on the spec. And then when it gets to performing, there's just not as many opportunities. And then that's what music is, then that's what we should be doing.
We also brought like the issue of like some people can compose, like it's part of the curriculum. Like you can actually compose, record, edit, but for some people you can't actually do that. So we brought the issue of like being able to have more composing software, actually do it during like the practical lessons, so then you know the kind of music you're making, you can listen, you can have feedback, you can edit, you can improve. So if you can compose, then maybe like it helps get you further marks in GCSE because you know what you need to improve on.
Alright, let's go to that table there.
Hello. So, peer learning, I like to actually explain. Students teaching other students, I think it's like better because it's like just like year 11s and then they're teaching the like younger ones before mine. Sorry, I'm not.
You're doing great.
Student, because it's like the year 11s are getting used to talking, so if they wanted to do that, for example, as their upcoming job, they could like get used to. So it's basically repairing them. Getting them used to what they would like to do.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
It's great, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I think students should take responsibility of their lesson and instrument to get independent and band skills as well. So the teacher doesn't have to like direct the lesson as much as they usually would. So the students can communicate between each other to get those skills.
Great. Brilliant. Let's go to the table.
We have quite a lot of opportunities at our school with regards to clubs and activities, but what these guys are saying was they don't like the names of them. So they're not in, they don't want to go to choir, and they don't want to come to be in the summer concert. It's called Drama Club. So they're talking about changing names of things to sort of encourage more people. And also the big thing is, if clubs are run after school, they can't get home. So it's looking at funding a late bus so that they can have more opportunities to stay after school and do more activities, and also funding, and they want to feel more involved themselves in the fundraising and in what goes into, because we have quite a lot of funding opportunities with concerts and church services and things like that, but they want more input in what we're going to put in these concerts and into these shows rather than it all be down to me. So I'm listening to them. Thank you.
Brilliant. George Rachel team.
We've got pretty good spaces, we've got great spaces, some of them have been upgraded, lots of instruments, most of them have got studio spaces, so that's really positive. But basically we want more time, and we can access these spaces like at break times and lunchtime and after school, but sometimes people are busy with other things or don't have the chance to do that. So then we started to discuss how we could change the, like, we were looking at a timetable, like everyone has to do PE, and do we need to do like PE? Could one of those options be music, or there's something like having to do RE, taking science, and we have to take RE? Could that be the time where we could do music instead of RE or PE? So I'm interested in discussion. So more options, more opportunities to play, but perhaps on a timetable. I don't know how possible that is, but it's good observation. It's not. Okay, and then the other thing that came up was that how much the experiences in year 7 and 8 influence whether you might pick music. So everyone has to choose an instrument, I think, in year 7 or 8, or has the opportunity to play an instrument, that's great. But if you pick the wrong instrument, or the teacher's not quite right, and you might get put off at an early age, and then so it's really important that we have good experiences in year 7 and 8, and so that encourages people to take music at GCSE level, and then just maybe more options. There seems to be loads of really great options for people to play, like woodwind, violin, guitar, brass. Vocal lessons are all on offer, but perhaps drums, bass, and music production are some of those options earlier on.
Alright, that's great everyone. We're going to take a 10-minute break for you to get some refreshments, go to the toilet, and then we'll be back with IRL versus URL. In-person versus online education. Now, in the survey, we found that the most popular way to get involved in music was in school. The second most popular way was at home. Now, we don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a bit of a pandemic since that survey. So that number is probably a lot higher. Now, obviously, we've had to get used to working at home. But what do you think can be carried over from working online into your education now? How do we learn online compared to in school? So, we've got another podcast, and we've got a presentation from the One Media Collective, and you can watch that. And then we'll get into the discussions again. Alright, so you've seen that, and now we're going to discuss it again. So you've got 20 minutes again, get your things down, and one feedback, your number one change that you can.
We talked about online benefits. I think you can finish really early. When you went at your own pace, I finished at like 12, which is great. You can do it whenever you want, so you don't have to wake up really early, and that's also very nice. If you can listen to music, which helps me not zone out, and you can like do whatever in the background, so it's like you don't have to ask to do something, you can just do it. It's basic.
Yeah, we'll go to the table here.
We thought that it was very 50-50, that at home you can do what you want without being judged by your friends or the peers in your class, and that it's a very safe environment to try different things, where in school there's no family to interrupt, and you get professional help with more facilities and more like access to instruments.
Alright, great.
Online, there's more relatable content. All of that content is convenient, it's free, especially on like YouTube and stuff, and it's in the comfort of your own home. So if you have an iPad or a computer, you can just go on and just learn really. So it cuts out that travel, the money, and like the petrol and everything. But it's all relative to like the needs of the individual. So it really is down to like what works best for you. Because you could enjoy having a teacher one-to-one, and you can learn quicker that way. And you also get that praise from that teacher. So yeah.
Great. We'll go to the table.
Yes, mixed back from us. We really sort of felt that obviously making music together with other people is really important. So there's a real benefit in real life interaction, and that carries across to performances with audience interaction that we felt was really important. But at the same time, online gives you the chance to find a new community, people across the country or the world that are interested in similar music to you without the worry of needing to travel to work with them. So I think we decided in the end it was the best of both rather than one or the other.
Yeah, we'll go to that far table there.
Yeah, there was a definite acknowledgement that it was tricky going into lockdown, and that some of the things weren't always ideal with the transition over into online learning. But one of the things that it did give the opportunity for was the space to discover new music at your own pace, and to be able to make your own music and just really find a bit more about yourself and your interest in music. And you wouldn't necessarily want that to come into school, because that is your personal thing and keeping it separate, so that you do have that escape from school day and just being able to separate your personal life from what you're learning. And also just about how online does give opportunity to share ideas in a safe way where you're not being directly judged by somebody, and that it just makes it a bit more encouraging, so that when you were back in person you found that it was easier to be able to talk about your ideas as well.
Alright, great. This table here, what you got? So at home there's a lot more freedom than there is at school, because in school there's a lot more restriction with like karaoke and stuff, because I'm a singer and I can't play any instruments to save my life. So at home, learning it was just basically karaoke, and there was a lot more freedom with what you can play and sing on YouTube, whereas with school computers there's a lot more restriction, like literally something could have one bad word in there and child Jesus by accident, and then they're restricted. So and then Chris wants to talk.
We did also talk about how some people don't have access to things like the internet or stuff that you can use to perform, and also some people when they're at home they won't be in a safe enough space where they'll be able to even just listen to music, and so in that case, in those cases, school is a really important place for them, because that's where they can actually do their music and express themselves through their music.
So our table here didn't really like the lockdown learning music, and so we much prefer making music in real life and with real instruments and people. And there's also an observation that lots of the young years, so year 7 and year 8, haven't had the full experience of music in school because of lockdown, so I think impacted on take-up. So they were preferring to have kind of in-person lessons, because the tutor can help if you're struggling with anything. And when it's online, it's harder to kind of copy, isn't it? We talked about how, echoing everyone else, how making music at home on things like BandLab, you've got more freedom to make what you want, and you're not constrained by genre or having to work in a band if you want to work individually, and it's not being judged. And however, our changes are that we would like an increased knowledge of music production software, so that we can make music at home as well, but then also more opportunities perhaps for creative composition within school.
Alright, great.
So pass it to the teachers in the back.
So, just talking about it from a teacher's point of view, one thing that we feel like it's not always quite clear is that something that was mentioned in the video that the lad of the video didn't like being forced to do a rock band set up because he wanted to basically make a lot of hip hop around and stuff like that. But if you have a class of 30 kids, it's very difficult to be able to assess the genre diversity and stuff like that. So you can't, when you're trying to get around everybody, first of all, it's very, very difficult to go listen to everybody's work, and if everybody's doing something different, that makes your job very, very difficult as well. So it's not always that we don't want you to do your own things, it's that we can't because it's just not possible. The other, we also felt that it needs to be kind of a hybrid of the two, of in person and online, because there are definitely benefits of both. One of the things that we found over a lot of them is that sometimes for quieter students who wouldn't necessarily want to put themselves out there in a classroom environment would come out with something a lot better online and like that it's their place where they feel cooperative and they're a lot happier to do their own thing, which we think is great. And what was the other thing? Yeah, and then the other, this is quite a controversial one. If you're using FanLab or whatever, and you're using a lot of samples in your music, yeah, it sounds great, but is it actually you? Are you actually writing it, or is it something that somebody else has already done that you're just kind of putting together a bit like a jigsaw? So I think you need to be careful about the whole thing saying, well, I'm a producer, I'm a musician. That's very different if you just string all the samples together. You need to make sure that you can understand the theory of what you're doing, why it sounds good. Because I find a lot of my students that when they use samples, it sounds great, and love it. And when they don't use samples and they're writing it themselves, you can't understand why it doesn't sound as good. There are reasons for that. That's one of the things that we're trying to get across to you. So, I would say just try and bear that in mind if you can. But it's from a teacher's point of view, it definitely needs to be a hybrid, and having the opportunity to do things online is just as important as it is to do it in person as well.
Now we're going to hand back over to Jack, who's going to take you through career paths.
I guess most of you probably know a few things, like being a performer, being a composer, being a songwriter, but do you know all of the diverse options that you can have in the music industry? For example, sound technicians, live sound technicians, working in a studio, working in production, and publishing. All these aspects that we don't actually consider, as well as teaching. So our questions as part of this provocation are you presented with these options? What would you like to know more about? And would you like to know more about the pathways into different roles, specifically if you have an interest, as well as would being presented with all of this knowledge and these pathways increase your want to be involved in the music industry as a career? So we're going to listen to another bit of a podcast. I was good for, and then we'll discuss. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, I'm going to warn you now, I'm very passionate about this subject, so it may go on for a minute or two. But so we ended up just mostly talking about what is associated typically with how to make it in the music industry. And for like a performer, the idea is, oh, get up on stage, sing, do your instrument, that's it. But there's a lot of connotations that come, is that the right word? I don't know. There's a lot of like things that come with that stereotype. So we were talking about like how we think that should be broken, how we think there should be more opportunities for people that don't look or act like how you imagine they should as a performer, and how it shouldn't matter how a person's image is. It should be more about their musical side of things. And then we talked about how it should be available for more people to know that you don't need to act like that, you don't need to look like that, and that you don't have to be up on stage to be in the music industry. Like, there should be more opportunities for tech people, there should be more opportunities for people that want to help out, like with like songwriting and lyrics and things. There should be more opportunities for people that aren't just, you have to get up on stage, you have to do this, you have to do that. There should be a lot of freedom to be creative and be who you are as a musician, rather than what society wants you to be. Like, you shouldn't have to fit into a box, and you shouldn't have to feel the need to go, oh, well, maybe I should change this, change that. You shouldn't need that. So there needs to be more freedom and like openness in the music industry on stage. And yeah, that's kind of what I said. It's about that.
we were talking about breaking the stigma. So you don't have to move to London to be successful, despite what people think. More jobs and career paths discussed in schools, because that's a problem. Like if people could get educated much earlier on in life, there are indeed other jobs and avenues in music, like being a sound engineer, a music journalist, etc. Then there will be this spark that would invigorate people throughout life. There's more jobs than just being a singer-songwriter, as I said. No one's expecting you to be the next Taylor Swift. And music needs to be taken more seriously with the career paths.
Hi, hello. So, if you want to go into the industry as an artist, there is an expectation to achieve the highest standards and become a mainstream artist. But part of someone's success is their audience. Creating and out of it is definitely possible. However, go in with lower expectations. Just enjoy what you do. Thank you.
So we were talking about all the different jobs, like songwriter, publisher, creator, photographer, journalist, and lots more. And we were saying that this is like seen as some sort of like dream career path and like unrealistic. So we were saying like to solve like this issue, you could bring like people like with experience in music into schools and like explain their path and how they got to where they got, to like make it easier for children to understand how they get there.
Well, just about the careers advice that our school gets when you get to 10. Yeah, you get to 10. And the work experience and the different jobs you do as well.
So it's like listing off all the jobs that just one that you don't have to just need to be a performer. You don't, that's just not all about it. You can be a music tech, you can be a music therapist in a hospital, music teacher, designer, there's many more jobs than just performing in music. And friends and family and people who can trust who can help you along the way with whatever you're doing in music at all is a big part of being a musician, and having a record school can really help you in the long run.
If we were just looking at the quite varied jobs you can do within with a music background, so we were sort of looking at like you could go into radio representative, music journalism, sound engineers, the technical side of things, even arranging, directing choirs. It's got such a lot to it, and we were sort of talking about all the opportunities that there are. We're quite lucky that we've got a great careers lady who does regularly send us out things. We were looking the other week at one about drama therapists and music therapists, so there are lots of options out there. So we were looking at that maybe.
We talked about how risky it is to get into the music industry and how a lot of people want success. And then we talked about what success is. So like, some people may think it's fame and being on the front cover, but some people may think it's about money, and some people may think it's just that you love what you're doing. So then we talked about like how we could show people more representation of other jobs in the industry. Like we talked about music, like music therapists, and so we thought about having more
like vocational options, so they could like talk about music lawyers and other jobs behind the scenes which are just as important. We also thought about how we could, like, how a lot of us don't know how to do things like write songs, so how to do that and succeed.
Talk about the various different career paths, and that's been covered quite a lot. But another thing we talked about was not just music per se, but the transferable skills that go with being a musician, studying music, to whichever level that is. A lot of employers nowadays, and not always actually, really rate music as a subject to take in terms of your employability and all those transferable skills that come with it, such as teamwork. Obviously, if you're playing groups, whatever those groups may be, there's a massive amount of teamwork involved in that. Your analytic thinking, your creative thinking, being able to look at things from different perspectives, which as a musician, you're having to use your analytic thinking even just to read the notes on the page. Problem solving, your divergent thinking, resilience. We don't always get it right, things go wrong, sometimes things go horribly wrong, but we learn from that and we move on from that, and that resilience is really, really important. Also, of course, ICT is a massive, massive part, and it's becoming increasingly a massive part of music education, and all of those different transferable skills that come with that ICT as well, and obviously that's a huge, huge area, media and all that. And of course, independence, being able to work independently and self-motivating in terms of being able to practice and practice effectively and improve whatever skill it is you're trying to develop. So that's one of the things that we're looking at.
I'm just going to share with you quickly about our next phase of Amplify. So you'll see on your table, you see these little slips of sign-up sheets. These are our sign-up slips for the Amplify Youth Board, which is our next phase. So we're asking you, if you're interested in taking these conversations further, to sign up today to register your interest for an away day that we're going to do. And our youth board's going to make sure that you guys and young people from Lancashire are still involved in the decisions about music education in Lancaster, in Lancashire. So you'll be able to find out more about the board and what you'll be able to do if you sign up for the away day. But some of the things will be that you'll maintain regular contact with the Music Education Hub Strategic Board and the Music Service Managers. You'll get to generate ideas for new projects, run more consultations like this with different groups of children and young people across Lancashire. The ambassadors, which you all have, for the value, and you will be today for the value of music education. You'll have the opportunity to work with other youth voice groups across the UK, and like we were saying at the back, you'll get the opportunity to develop your teamwork, communication skills and confidence as well. So all transferable skills. So all we're asking you to do, if you're interested, you can either sign yourselves up by filling in one of these forms, or teachers, if no one signs up, if you would like to nominate 2 people from your schools or your classes, then feel free to do that. So you can do this here, or we'll be sending out an online sign-up form as well, so you can do it through the link. And thank you once again for today and for your time and amazing ideas.
There is more careers that you can take with music.
It's very it's like a broad. There's a lot of jobs, you know, in the music industry. I think it's good that we know that now.
Yeah, because we didn't know it before.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy music a lot, and being able to talk about it with people who also have like the same passion was really good.
There's a lot more opportunities in music.
Yes.
It's definitely made me think about the education we get in school when it comes to music. And it's made me appreciate what we already have at my school and how good it actually is compared to some of the other schools that are here.
I think it just encouraged me more to, you know, go forward with music and acting and stuff like that.
And also what we're learning and how that can help us progress and get a career in music.